Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is Dave Davis with Your Money Matters.
Hey everybody, we're back at the digital studio where we go outside of the newscast, after the newscast, weekly to talk about financial issues and financial freedom and anything having to do with finance, having to do with you and your wallet and how to make yourself better and empowering you. Wealth building, we talk about how we take the news and really so a lot of big concerns about food prices and inflation and all this thing. And this is a place here in this digital studio, the News on 6 digital studio, where we make what we're talking about with finance and Your Money Matters applicable to you. And I am so excited to welcome in our guest today. This is Dr. Paris Woods. She wrote The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom, a best-selling book that Dr. Woods, it's been out now, and she's going to be coming to Tulsa here soon. And if you're watching this in the future and you already missed her event, we want to get a lot of great advice from Dr. Paris Woods. So Dr. Paris Woods, welcome to the program. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You know, let's start by talking about The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom and what inspired you to write this book.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I had actually just gone through a layoff, and that happened right as we were sort of exiting the pandemic. And so it was sort of this moment where I had to pause and think about what I wanted to do next. And I remember having the luxury of being able to say, well, I think I won't jump right into another job. I actually was able to turn down some job offers, and I decided to travel, and I decided to work on, writing a book, and I was finishing my dissertation. And so I was experiencing a level of freedom that, as I reflected on it, would not have been possible, several years earlier because of where I was financially then, and then some of the very intentional choices I had been making financially since then. And so I decided that I was in such a lucky position. It wasn't fair for me to have all of this sort of privilege and not be able to share what I had learned with other folks. I'm naturally a writer. It's something that I love doing. And so I thought the best way to share this advice and capture some of these lessons learned was via a book. So that's what sort of led me to want to write the book. That's what sort of led to the content in the book. It's really my journey from a place of sort of financial constraint and being in debt and sort of having done all the things that they tell us to do in life, having done all that right and still be struggling financially. And then what I had to learn very intentionally the hard way, so that women either could get ahead of me and not make the same mistakes, or if you were in the same position, you could sort of recover similarly and find the kind of financial freedom I was able to experience during that very tough period of being laid off in the pandemic.
Yeah, just such a scary experience. And, when you wrote this book, you dedicated it to your mom. And I wanted to, if it's okay, to share an excerpt from the preface. This is the very beginning, and it kind of sets the stage for the book. The excerpt here on the screen, I'm just going to read it. You say, I was raised by an inspiring, smart, compassionate, and loving Black woman who unfortunately had no idea how to manage money. I remember seeing her in tears, poring over handwritten budgets and trying to make the numbers work. Tell me a little bit about your mom and how she was able to set you up for what you're doing now.
Yeah, my mom was such an inspiration to me. I sort of think about all of the things she had to overcome in her own life. And she was very intentional about mothering us. And so despite not having the financial piece worked out, I feel like she still invested so much in my sister and me in terms of our values, in terms of confidence, terms of getting us into good schools. And she truly believed that a good education was going to be our ticket out of poverty. And so that was her investment. I'm sorry to have brought you into the world in poverty. I'm going to give you access to a good education that's going to get you out. So while all of those things are true, we did experience poverty growing up. And I had such a good relationship with her. And so it had a deep emotional impact on me to see her struggling financially, to see her crying, to see her trying to work out the bills, to see her taking on all of these extra jobs. So all of that really stayed with me as well as I was sort of on my own financial journey and having to figure out some of these lessons a little bit later in life than maybe we would have hoped. But her advice to me was always, hey, I've made enough mistakes. Don't repeat my mistakes. Make your own mistakes. Go make new mistakes in the world, right? And so I definitely did that. Made some really good ones, some good mistakes that I learned from. And all of that, I was able to write about in the book. So I'm so grateful. And I did dedicate the book to my mother. Yeah.
As you travel the country and talk to people, just like you're going to be talking to folks in Tulsa here coming up in November, November 6th, as you've traveled the country talking to people, and especially Black women, do you find that yours is a shared experience? Do you find, what kind of stories do women tell you and come up to you and say, hey, I read your book and this?
Yeah. I mean, this sort of experience of not being taught how to manage money is so widespread. And I think, many of us, either we've heard some of the myths about how money works and have then therefore had to learn the hard way some of the mistakes that I made around taking on debt and student loans and car loans and all these things. And sort of then all of a sudden feeling like, well, none of my paycheck is going to me at the end of the month. I owe it to everybody else. And then I think what's sort of additionally special about the Black female community is that we're the caretakers, right? And we're highly educated. Both of those things are sort of true of Black women. And so I sort of hear this common experience about, well, I did all the degrees, I did all the things, I got this fancy job, I have this amazing paycheck, and yet now I have to take care of all these people, right? I'm the source of support, the financial support for my family and my cousins and right? And so this sort of added burden and added weight that we are carrying as a community, I think only amplifies some of the struggles that many of us face when it comes to our personal finances.
What was the impetus for you to turn around? You had mentioned, writing the book 2021 around the pandemic. What was the impetus for you starting to turn around your finances personally? Was it the layoff? Was it just before that? What kind of events led to you saying, okay, we need to figure this out financially?
Yeah, I had this great moment. I remember I was 30 years old. I was an executive director, right? I'm living the dream. I've got multiple Harvard degrees. I've done all the things. I had my own apartment for the first time in my life, right? And so it was having this moment of thinking, well, I checked all the boxes, I did all the things, and yet I'm looking around and like the money isn't quite working, right? I feel constrained. I feel like I don't have the freedom or I don't have the lifestyle that I thought I would have on the other side of making all of these choices. So it's sort of a light bulb moment for me at age 30 to say, like, wait a minute, okay, I learned all the things I've learned to do and all the things I've been taught to do don't seem to be producing the results I want to see in my life. I need to go on a journey and I actually need to educate myself on how money works. And so I had to start reading books and going to conferences and sort of like, I really went on a personal finance education journey for myself. And one of the first books I picked up was good old Dave Ramsey, right? Total Money Makeover. And that was a light bulb moment to say, wait a minute, like I've been treating debt in a way that maybe I don't have to. Like I have some different choices, and that was news to me. And so that was the beginning of my financial journey, was all about getting out of debt. And then it sort of opened up this world to say, well, now that I have more money in my paycheck, now that I'm not having to pay, everybody back, what could be possible? And so I really, was able to dream and say, okay, what do I want to create with money, and how might money become a tool to create the kind of lifestyle that I want to have? So something about age 30, we all go through that period of sort of growing up and saying, okay, like we're into adulthood, things may not look the way that we think they should. What am I going to do about it? And so that was the journey that I went on.
Yeah, and you talk about wealth building a lot. For you, what does wealth building mean to you at this point in your life?
Yeah, I think, one of the things I've had to reflect on, so often we talk about getting rich, right? And it's just about the money. And so for me, when I had to, I reflected more deeply on like, what is it about the money that I want? And it was less about the getting rich and more about what will be on the other side of having that money in the bank account. And that was freedom to make choices about where I work, freedom to make choices about how I spend my time, what kind of projects I get to pursue. And so this concept of freedom is really a core value of mine. And that's what I write about. That's what I talk about. So it's not just about money at the end of the day. It's actually about like the freedom that we want to create, for which money can be a tool. And the other thing you asked me, what do women say to me so often? I hear a lot of the shoulds, like, well, I should be doing this with my money. I should be doing that. And I feel guilty. And the truth is, you would never do it unless you had a good reason. So I'm often asking, well, why would you? I don't care about the shoulds, the things you think you should be doing. What do you think would be possible? What do you want to create in your life? And then let's create a financial plan to make that possible. Forget the shoulds, right? It's like your own personal financial journey and your own life. And what do we want to create? I think that's so much more exciting. And then you're much more motivated to make different choices with your money when you know what it is that you're enabling on the other side of those choices.
Moving from the shoulds to the doing and the action and taking that step. Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in that, Dr. Woods. I also, you had mentioned in kind of the run up to the book about an inclusive impact. So what does that mean to you in terms of finance, having an inclusive impact?
Yeah, it's so true. It's interesting. A lot of folks ask me, can I give this book to someone who is a boy? Can I give this to someone who is not Black? Which obviously the answer is yes. And, I've been asked this so much that I'm working on now a follow-up book called The Student's Guide to Financial Freedom, a student adaptation, because of how powerful it is to get this information into folks' hands younger before they make all of the mistakes. But, the other thing that it makes me think about for inclusion so often when I do sort of group presentations and we do the visioning and I ask women, okay, if you had all the money, like more money than you could ever spend, what would you do with it? And I get into this visioning piece. And I'm always so inspired by the answers that I get because folks want to create community programs and want to sort of change sort of the trajectory of the lives of the young people, right? It's like it's very inspiring and very mission driven and very externally focused. And so part of, I think, the beauty of focusing on sort of Black women as the caregivers and the providers is like saving this community saves the world. Like all of us, I think, are sort of our hearts are so full and we're so interested in saying, how can we use whatever privileges or whatever resources we have to help others? And so it's been so inspiring for me to see what's possible and be able to enable this kind of freedom for the Black female community in particular.
I know that you have a book full of great steps, but give us, if you could, just a little advice today on a step that we can take today if we're still in the should. Well, I should be doing this, what's a step that people can take today toward financial freedom? Right now, something you can start doing or stop doing?
Yes. Okay. We have to start with the visioning. Right? So what is it that you want to create? And I think most of us have done this when we hear about the Powerball, whatever, like, wow, if I had all that money, what would I do? Let's start there. Like, what do you really want in your life? Write it out in complete detail. Like, I want you to imagine the ideal perfect life where you're completely financially free. Do a full day, like from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. Like, get it really good where you feel like, ooh, this is juicy. I love this. I wish this were true. See if we can get to like, what are some of the core values in there? What is it that you really want to be true in your life? And then the action step is to say, what is one thing I could do today to bring some of that future vision into the present? Right? So it might be taking a step to figure out, well, where is my money going? So that I could stop putting some of it toward things that I don't really value and start putting it toward some of these things that I do value. Or it might be, well, this vision costs a lot of money and I know I'm not earning enough. Let me start researching some careers that are more aligned with my qualifications and what I have to offer the world. Or it might be, you know what? It's about time to open that Roth IRA. Like, I know I should be investing and it's been on my mind and I haven't had a vision juicy enough for me to want to actually grow money and want to sort of dig into this investing world. Let me pick up the book or let me sort of take one step to figure out what the very next piece might be. So typically, on the other side of visioning, I talk about make, manage, multiply. Either we're going to make more money, we're going to manage it differently, or we're going to start multiplying it through investing. And usually the vision is what inspires us enough to take that very next step in one of those categories.
That's great. It's just great advice, and I'm so glad you shared that. Dr. Paris Woods will be in person. We mentioned this in Tulsa. She will be here. It's the Books for Thought program, Thursday, November 6th. It's 6 to 7:30 at the Greenwood Rising History Center. Dr. Paris Woods here talking about her book, The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom. What can folks expect, Dr. Woods, at this event for this hour and a half where they're in the same room and you can talk it out? What can folks expect?
Yeah, Well, I am there for the women in the room. So folks will get to ask questions. We're going to have a facilitator who's doing a Q&A with me. You guys will be able to get the book, and I'm happy to sign them. So this is really an opportunity for us to have like a community conversation. I think it's often taboo to talk about money. And I think that's one of the things that sort of holds us back, being able to share information and share the truth with one another about our experiences. I'm very open. I'm going to share the truth about my experiences, and I want to invite the folks in the room to be able to really grapple with some of the questions that we've been wrestling with and some of the challenges, especially in the times of today, and see if we can walk away inspired and with some very clear action steps for doing something different with our money and creating something different in our lives.
Well, it's fantastic. We do have to go here soon, because I want to respect your time, but I want to give you the last word here, Dr. Woods, about, I know there's a lot of financial uncertainty right now, people wondering about the economy, prices, inflation, can I afford sometimes the basics? What are some words of encouragement you have for folks watching this right now on YouTube, where it's about, hey, what do I do when I feel like I'm just drowning financially?
Yeah, I think this is a moment where a lot of folks are going to have the kind of wake up call that I had at age 30. We start to realize, okay, something about this life and the choices I've been making is not working. Or maybe I always thought that the government was going to take care of me, or this program was going to be around, or this job was going to be around. So whenever we face those times of instability and uncertainty, it's an opportunity to pause and say, okay, we know that the economy is cyclical. We know things go up and down. What different choices do I want to make the next time I have more resources in my life, so that when the next recession hit, when the next layoff happens, when the next unexpected thing happens, right? We can expect the unexpected. I'll be prepared. So that's what I would encourage folks to say, encourage folks to do. Like, take care of yourself. Now might not be the time to make the biggest financial choices if you truly are struggling, but know that sort of there's a cycle. There's a cycle here. Better days are coming, and you could, at the very least, be equipping yourself with the knowledge to be able to do something different this next time around.
One more time, Dr. Paris Woods. She's going to be in Tulsa if you're watching this here Thursday, November 6th. If you're watching this before Thursday, November 6th of 2025. And if you're watching this a year from now, that's awesome, because all of this stuff still applies. And this is absolutely timeless advice from Dr. Paris Woods. The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom is her book, and she will be hosting the Books for Thought event, Greenwood Rising History Center, Thursday, November 6th, 2025, from 6 to 7:30. You can get your spot now. Dr. Paris Woods, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time on the News on 6 Digital Studio.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's own digital studio stream. Stay with News on 6 online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.